Well, good afternoon, folks. Today's Sunday. What is the date? 13th, is it? Yeah, 13th of October. Right? Geez, Christmas will be here before we know it. Now listen, every Sunday I come online and I do a bit of a sermon. I do a bit of preaching about religion. I'm a Christian. I've been a Christian for a number of years now, and I just like to tell people what it's like to be a Christian, and that's why I went to church for about 25, 30 years by myself. My wife wasn't a born-again Christian. I'm what they call a born-again Christian. And anyway, she didn't go to church with me, but I just went to church with myself. But I left the church because they wouldn't let me share my testimony. I wanted to tell people about my life and why I became a Christian, how I became a Christian, but they weren't really interested, the people in the church. And I just had to sit there and listen to people preaching all the time. So now I've decided not to go to church. I just do the preaching myself. And I can't get people to come to a church, listen to me. I've tried that a couple of times, but no one will come and listen to me. So I just do it online. And so today you're going to have a sermon. And today it's about sheep. I'm going to talk about sheep today because I just spent yesterday videoing the Waimate Spring Shears. It's a shearing competition. And I used to shear in the shearing competition in Waimate. So I went down there and I videoed the shearing competition. And there's about over 50 minutes of a video here you can have a look at today. But anyway, I want to tell you about, and as I told you before, I'm telling my life story by video. When I do this preaching, I talk about my own personal self-development program, and I talk about my experience of life. Okay? So everything I tell you is about because I've experienced it. When I left school, I was a shepherd on the sheep station. Dad was a manager of a government block farm in the 1950s. They had a company. The government had a company called Lands and Survey Department, and the Lands and Survey Department used to break up land and into farms. And Dad was managing one of those farms in a place called Pickawai, which is just out of Matatar in the Bay of Plenty. And when I left school, I was a shepherd on the sheep station. I got a job as a tractor driver and a shepherd. And I would go around the sheep. My job would be to go around the sheep every day, the ewes. The ewes would be lambing, and in lambing season I'd go around all the sheep to make sure none got cast. Or we had one of the paddocks, there was a swamp, and the sheep used to get in the swamp, in the mud and the water, and get bogged in the bog, you see. And I would go down there and I'd find the sheep in the bog, and I'd pull the sheep out of the bog, and I'd put it on the nice green grass alongside the swamp. And then it'd go and say, "There you are, sheepy, there's all the green grass, away you go." And you know what the sheep would do? Every time, it would turn round and go straight back in the bog. That's true. If a sheep has been sitting in a bog for a long time, they become accustomed to being in the bog. And when you pull them out and put them on the paddock, they go straight back in the bog. Now, aren't people like that? Do you know a lot of people? You can help them. You can say, "Look, this is what you got to do. There's the green grass. You do this and you'll become successful." But what do? Go straight back to the old habits. Go straight back into the bog. And another thing about sheep, sheep are just like people. There's always a leader in a mob of sheep. We're talking to mobs. It's a group of sheep called a mob. But then we have people who are mobs. and gangs, right? In the shearing gang is a group of people. They're a mob. They're a gang, right? But anyway, you can have a mob of sheep in a pen and open the gate, and they'll go round and round the pen, and the gate's open, but they won't go out the gate. And all of a sudden, one sheep will spot the open gate, and it'll go through the gate. And once that sheep goes through the gate, all the others will follow. And people are like that. One person will decide to do something, and all the others want to follow. When I was growing up, tattoos. Very few people had tattoos. And I remember the people that had tattoos, if they had a tattoo, they'd been in the Navy. Normally they got a tattoo when they went in the Navy. But I was against tattoos. I didn't like people drawing on themselves. I didn't think they need to draw on themselves. But anyway, people started drawing on themselves. They started getting tattoos. Now, once one got a tattoo, the other person had to get a tattoo. So everybody gets a tattoo because it becomes the fashion. Oh, he's got a tattoo or she's got a tattoo. I'm going to get one bigger and better. Right? Because they're like sheep. Because people are like sheep. They like to follow and do what the other people do. Now, I've been on a self-development program for a long time. I've read a lot of books. I've been involved in multi-level marketing companies. I've been to all the seminars, the conferences, and learned about personal self-development. And one of the greatest things I learned from all the books and tapes and that I've listened to is the crowd is wrong. The mob is wrong. Don't follow the crowd. Be your own person. Don't do something just because that's what other people do. Because most of the people that put the tattoos on themselves on them, they want to be noticed. That's why they do it, because they look at me. I've got this great tattoo. Now, I'm not saying that nothing wrong with the people. They're great people. But it's just the point I'm trying to make, the reason they're doing it is to follow other people. But the crowd is wrong. Don't go with the crowd. If you don't want tattoos, don't do them just because someone else is doing them. We all know that you've heard the law of attraction. That's been very popular. The Secret. There was a film done and a book written about The Secret. The Secret, of course, is the law of attraction, that we attract to ourselves the people around us are attracted to us because of our thoughts, the way we think. If we think a certain way, we will attract other people who think that way as well. That's why you see mobs, gangs. There's a gang of boys called the mongrel mob. They get young people in, and because people love to be part of a gang or part of a mob, right? And they start thinking certain ways, and they attract those type of people. So if you want to be successful, and you look around at the people that you're friendly with, the people that you're mixing with, and say, are they successful? Do I want to be like them? Now, I can remember years ago, when I gave up shearing, I worked for the Loan and Mercantile Company. They were in a stock and station agency in Hamilton. And I was a stock clerk. And I wasn't getting very much money. They're only paying me about £7.10 a week, which is $15 a week in today's money. But that's what the wages were back then. And I started to think, when I got to about 18 and 19 years of age, I thought, where am I going? And I looked around at the stock agents. People who had been stock clerks became stock agents. They got a company car and they got a house, a rented house. I had a brother-in-law who became a stock agent. and he got a company car, and he got a company. He rented a stock and station agency house, right? But he always had a wallet full of money, but he never had any assets. And I thought, well, and a lot of the other stock agents were the same. They weren't going anywhere. I thought, am I going to stay here in these small wages for a long time just to become another stock agent with a rented house and a company car? No. One day I went shearing sheep for a cocky. We used to go around and meet the farmers at the sale yards. And if they had a few sheep, I would go and shear their sheep. And one day I was shearing some sheep for a cow cocky, and I shore my first 100 sheep. And the farmer gave me a £5 note. And I thought, boy, that's a lot of money. I was getting £7.10 a week, and the farmer gave me £5 for one day's work on a Saturday. So I decided to become a sheep shearer, right? Because I thought, well, if I can make that in one day, what can I make in a week? So when Dad was getting, I think my father was getting about £10 a week, working on a farm, and when I went shearing, I was earning £10 a day. Yeah. Now, when I started shearing, there was a group of men called the Bowen brothers. There was Godfrey Bowen, Ivan Bowen, and Ian Bowen. And Godfrey Bowen did a world record. He shore over 300 sheep. In fact, those Bowen boys could all shear over 300 sheep. Now, that was a long time ago. That's when the little narrow combs, the OLT combs and that. But Godfrey Bowen was a bit of a skite. He's a bit like myself. He was a bit of a skite. And he started going into the towns, and he started shearing sheep in the city, in the town. And he'd get some sheep and he'd put it on the stand and show people how he could shear sheep. And the townies thought he was great. And he was the founder, really, started the Golden Shears. He won the Golden Shears, the first Golden Shears, in Masterton. And the sport, it became a sport. Shearing became a sport. Up until then, shearers were the lowest of the socio-economic people. If you were a shearer, you were down the bottom. But Godfrey Bowen brought shearing into the city and made it a respectable sport. Today, you go around the shearing competitions, and those shearers that shear in competitions are great people. Absolutely great. I was 10 years shearing sheep, and I had a lot of fun. I drank a lot of beer, and we had a lot of fun as young fellas. But we did nothing, no worse than university students. We did some stupid things, but no worse than university students who were doctors and lawyers and things like that. But we were shearers, and most of us were married men. We had families, and we were well respected in the community. I was fortunate enough to marry a McSkimming. The McSkimming family is well known throughout New Zealand as shearers. Murray McSkimming was a world champion shearer, and the McSkimming family in the Patiroa area, Fred McSkimming, Heck McSkimming, and Ron McSkimming, they were all involved in the woolen industry, and they were very keen on shearing. And so I was fortunate enough to marry Margaret McSkimming, which was Fred's daughter. And Margaret and I have been married now for 50 years. So I've got two families. I've got the Bishops and I've got the McSkimmings. And the McSkimmings people are great people. Absolutely fantastic. Fred McSkimming was a bit of a hard case. He had great sense of humour. That's Margaret's father. I remember him going to the Golden Shears once. He was the president of the fine wool shearing. He started the fine wool shearing in Alexandra. And he went up to Golden Shears and he gave a speech. And he said to you, he stood up and he said, "Now you people in the North Island have probably never seen a merino. You've never seen a merino ram. He said, if you want to know what a merino ram looks like, he said, put a pair of horns on me and you've got a merino ram. Of course, those Muskemies, they're pretty loose-skinned, you know. They got a few wrinkles round the neck. But great sense of humour Fred had, and they've all got it. Murray's got it. Murray's a great shearer, great sense of humour. And big family Murray comes from too. I won't go into that. He'll growl at me. I wanted him to say something yesterday on the microphone, on the video about the shearing, but he wouldn't have it on. But never mind, one of these days he might say something on video for you, because he hasn't adjusted to the social media, you know. He doesn't like Facebooks and YouTubes and stuff like that, because he doesn't know anything about them, you know, and he's afraid someone's going to go and rob him if he gets on there. A lot of people like that. They're afraid of new technology, you know what I'm saying? Okay, what was I talking about? Just a minute. Oh yeah, I know what I was going to say. I'm a bit of a stirrer, and most of you know. I stir up a bit of trouble. And the reason I do that is because the Bible tells me that if we want to be a good Christian, we have to be like Jesus. Right? Do what Jesus did. And you know who Jesus was? He was the biggest stirrer around. Boy, could he stir up trouble. He wound people up. How did he wind people up? He used to say to them, listen, fellas, you don't do it this way. You're doing it wrong. You got to do it this way. And of course, people get angry. They got angry. They got that wild with Jesus Christ. They crucified him. Yeah, got rid of him. Hung him on the cross. But you couldn't get rid of him. He come back. Right? The story, it's a great story. You should read the Bible and listen to it. It's good. Read it. Everything in the Bible works if you believe it. Okay? So get yourself a Bible. If you haven't got a Bible, get yourself a Bible. And prayer works. Another thing you must do. Pray. You know? I get in trouble, something terrible. The only way I get out of trouble is to pray. I sit down one day, gee, God, this is not working. I've upset a few people here, I better pray for them. And I pray for the people I upset. I was in Waimate yesterday and I didn't know. The bloke came up to me and he said, excuse me, Ron, can I have a photograph taken with my son? He got this little fella there standing alongside me, he wanted to take my photo. And I thought, everybody wanted a piece of me. They wanted to talk to me. Will you go and see so-and-so? There are people that have been watching my videos. They love me on the video. Hi, fans. Right? Because they watch me every day on the video. And I'm getting a following, if you know what I'm saying. People are starting to realise. Because I realised, listen, I can't change the world. I can't change it on my own. I can only change myself. And I've got 72 years of experience knocking around and shearing sheds, finance companies, multi-level marketing companies, all sorts of things. Debt collecting. I was a debt collector for 20 years. You know, I know all about that stuff. I've been around and I'm sharing my life story and I'm excited about it because I got something good to offer, right? When I'm dead and gone, I hope they'll say, well, bloody hell, good old Ron Bishop. I wish he was back. Hey, this is a sermon. If it's not working for you, in your life, do this. Get down on your hands and knees by your bed and say, God, if you're real, I'm sorry for stuffing it up. I'm sorry for hurting all those people. Please forgive me for stuffing it up, God. And Jesus, I want you to come into my heart. Sit in here with me and you run the show. Take over my life. Very, very simple. That's all you have to do. And when you do that, man, you'll feel 20 feet tall. You'll change. God will change you on the inside. You can't change on the outside till you change on the inside. So my message today is this. Don't follow the sheep. Be your own person. Walk away from the crowd. If the crowd's not doing right, don't follow them. Be your own person. Become a Christian. Don't try and run life by yourself. Too hard. I get into trouble, something terrible. But if I didn't have Jesus in my heart, I'd be a mental wreck. Folks, tomorrow, don't forget, listen in. And have a look at that video I did on the shearing at the Waimate Masters Games. Well, not Masters Games, but Waimate Spring Shears. Okay? I did my best. It's the first time it's ever been done, I think, on YouTube. Have a good day, and God bless you.